seen a little bit of Sinners BVO, but I fell asleep on it. Like I told you,
Yeah. That's no need to bring that up on the show, man.
nah,
We got you.
nah,
Go
that's
ahead.
cool. That's
Yeah,
cool.
don't bring
But
that up on
never,
the show.
I mean, well, you said it. Well, you asked me to compare the two, so
Oh, okay,
so
okay. I got you.
yeah, what are you talking
Go ahead.
about? But no, nevertheless, yeah, I feel like Jake Paul's a con man. He cons these, MMA fighters, basketball players, grandpops, ex fighters. He just, he cons them into, situations. But it turns out the internet shows up for Jake Paul.
Just
So
do
I'll
they
say he a
right.
con man. He a con man. That's cool. He a con man, and the promoter Eddie Hearn's a con man. I can go on and on.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I say from that movie, I want to ask you guys a question. When you guys seen that movie initially, when I seen Remick, it just reminded me so much of the kid from Baltimore, where he tried to almost play it as if he understands what you're going through, and you see him just manipulate people, and almost, at the climax, I don't want to go too far ahead. At the climax, you see him, basically try to make it seem like he's in there with them, and it's all for naught because you get no unifications, you get no big fights. And I think the thing that really got me about the movie was you got fans like fans that try to chase that type of behavior out of boxing, but because people see the money just like that couple did, they kind of overlook it. Do you guys feel that same way? That happens in boxing as well, where people overlook things if it sounds or looks good.
I mean, if you think about it, right? In a way, right? Let's say that, um, the guy from Baltimore, we give him, right? Let's say he gets a fight with somebody that's relatively, lucrative. Let's say, biggest payday, biggest thing, whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
In which he had, in which he had. But it's like you look at it and you be like, well, he's gonna be like, well, he's the biggest cash star in the game because he's bringing in the most money because of just that one fight. So even if we talk about what Remick had, you know what I'm saying, what Remick seen in the others in the movie, you know what I'm saying, it tells you what's the greed for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Because even I don't want no spoilers for nobody, but you watch the movie and you see what's everybody's greed. You know what I'm saying? One is money, one is, the love of music, one is,
Hmm.
trying to satisfy, everybody else. You know what I'm saying? So it's just in a way, you know what I'm saying? It could be, but you know what I'm saying? It's just it's greed at the end of the day. It's really actually just greed on what, the fans want, what the fighters want. It's really just greed.
Yeah, and the reason I brought that up is because I thought that movie did a great depiction on showing how morals are not the same as we once viewed them, to a younger generation. Because now you get fans of just a person and not the actual sport. And I think you've seen that person in particular feminize the sport. We've seen the growth of people wearing dangly earrings. We see a man wearing a pink purse, a colorful fur that you would buy like your mother or your wife. You see that, and it's just for me. Then you have like a guy, and it's flashy, so I get it. Because I would look at the guy from Baltimore as like Stack, flashy guy, handsome guy, but he just up to no good. Where you got a guy like Stack, who's more like a Devin Haney, who kind of stands on business the best he can, and really tries to give you the best fights, and is just ridiculed at every point. Let me ask you this, D Free. Have you ever seen the guy that was actually right the whole time be ridiculed as much as have you seen with Devin Haney? What do you think?
I don't think Devin Haney was right the whole time. I think a lot of things he did was right. I think also there was a lot of times where there was a whole bunch of smoke and mirrors. So I don't think none of these guys are 100% right in the sport of boxing. I think they do what they need to do in order to bring the fans in. You have some that do, for the most part, they do things right, but they all have smoke and mirrors at some point in time. So I don't think
Mhm.
anybody do everything right.
Well,
When you say
you
smoke
know,
and
I
mirrors, what do you mean? When you say smoke and mirrors, I'm confused. What does that mean?
I mean, they say they want to get certain fights, and they willing to do this, they willing to do that, and then when the time has come, things changes up. They
I
say
mean,
the things that people want to hear, but when it's time to sit down at the table, things change up. Like they say, oh, I'm willing to take whatever you give me, but then when it's time to sit down, oh well, I'm not willing to do this, I'm not willing to do that. But you just said you was willing to take whatever they give you. The same thing with like
uh,
with Shakur. I know Tank Davis is the A side, and whatever he says is what goes. But then when it's in the oh well, I don't want this, I want this. So I think everybody in the sport of boxing changes up at some point in time. I'm not saying that one does it all the time. I'm not saying one does it most of the time. Everybody has smoke and mirrors at some point in time throughout their career. Now, would you say this one is on the right path for majority of the time? Yeah, you could say that. But like I said, I think all of them at some point in time have smoke and mirrors.
well, I'll say Devin Haney's done because BBO said he mentioned Devin Haney. I'll say that he done 95% of the things right. He as you expect out of a fighter. He set himself a goal in becoming undisputed, and people ridicule him for how he became undisputed. But he didn't care who had the belts. He had a goal, and he set his goal and he accomplished it. So, if we're talking about Devin Haney, I would say he does 95% of the things right. You know what I'm saying? He what more do you want in a fighter? He'll fight anybody. He'll win, lose, it'll draw, he'll get knocked down, he'll get back up. Why do we That's what we want, right? So if we're talking about Devin Haney, I feel like he does the majority of his career right, him and his father. And I know a lot of y'all don't like him, and you might say he can't beat Tank, and he ran and he did all these things but he wins. He
I
wins.
think I think the only thing where and I get where you're coming from, Prize. I think where you're coming from is correct, and it's
I would want
in a
my
way,
son to be like Devin Haney. He doesn't get any
but
trouble. If
but
my
but I
son,
think I think I think the reason why he gets so much of this how you say ridicule is because of what his dad says the majority of the time.
I don't care
It's
about
not
his dad.
it's yeah, which is again is it shouldn't matter to a fan, but when people talk about you know like just recently, Deloya comes out and says, "Well, there's no Devin rematch because he's a runner." And what you and this is me asking you guys a question. In what minds do you guys think? Okay, well, why is there no rematch at this point? Because they both didn't look good at that point. They both didn't look good in their last fight. So at that point, let's just let them fight each other. Let them settle the score. But because of whatever case may reason, whatever y'all can fathom in your mind, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna have a rematch. Bill's saying, well, we're gonna go and try to fight Tio, and Ryan's gonna do whatever Ryan's gonna go do. But when you look at it as in what D Free said, there's just always something with certain fighters. There's always something. Like if it's not one thing, there's another. So it's just
Yeah,
at a certain point, it's just like, all right, bro, like what are we really doing?
because I feel like when I look at Jamal Charlo, he reminds me a lot of that cornbread character, the doorman, where you seen when Stack came out to recruit him, he came out to the field to recruit him, and I feel like you look at a guy like Jamal Charlo, he wants to do the right thing, but I just think he's just no matter what, it seems like he has a hard time not taking the easy way out of things. And you say, why do you say that? Because it's just always something. If it's not this, it's that. If it's not that, it's this. And it's like you constantly see, and at this point, at 35 years old, let's just be very candid at this, his career is pretty much half over at 35 years old. So he's 35 years old and really just wasted the prime of his career. And I think, I think if you look at that cornbread character, that's very much Jamal Charlo. He wasted his best years, and he's at a place where he's desperate to do anything to be relevant. And I think that's a scary place for any man to be, where when you look at yourself and you say, well, man, I really wasted a lot of my potential. Now I kind of got to just do whatever. Because if you're sitting in that movie, you guys can tell me this. I wouldn't want no man talking to me like that in front of my wife. What would you guys say? I wouldn't accept a man talking to me like that in front of my wife. What about you guys?
Yeah, y'all can go first.
I don't know. I don't know what part of the movie
What up?
you talking about, but um, as far as Jamal Charlo, I feel like it's hard not to like to disagree with you. You feel me, BVO? Like, because you're basically saying that, and I felt like he did, stay out of the ring a little too long, but nevertheless, he's never lost. And if he's in a major fight, it'll be a big fight. But I feel you though at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So like I can't really speak on Jamal Charlo because it's hard to disagree with you. He's wasted a lot, bro.
What would you say,
I
Free?
wouldn't say
I know you see
he
the.
waste. I wouldn't say he wasted most of his career. Because I mean a lot of the stuff it was things that it was somewhat out of his control. He had issues with his wife, so that's something
How's that out of
that's
his control?
personal. That's not something that you because
Carry on.
it's a situation where his wife was the problem. It wasn't him. It wasn't
It's
him
his
as the
problem too.
problem.
Then,
It was his wife who
if
was
it's
the
a
problem.
relationship problem, it's
So
both your problems.
I would
But carry on.
hold up, dog. Why you gotta talk over me when I'm talking? Man,
But you talking
put your
crazy
mind on
right
mute
now.
if you
But
can't
carry
keep
on.
yourself to no,
Carry
you
on.
You said,
talking crazy. But anyway, anything like I
Carry
said,
on.
every time I'm done.
go ahead, Free. Go ahead, Free. Stop, man. Go ahead, Free. Go ahead, Free, man. I'll mute him. Go ahead, Free. He muted. Go ahead, Free.
Every time I say something, somebody always got something to say when I say something. But the thing is, I wouldn't say it was him that wasted his career because that was his wife that caused the issues in his life. Now we could say the
Mm-hmm.
alcohol was a problem, but I don't know if the alcohol kept him out of the ring. It was his wife. He was having personal issues with his wife. He was going back and forth to court with his wife. It wasn't. He was always drinking alcohol throughout his career. He was drinking
Mm-hmm.
alcohol. So I'm not going to say that alcohol is what kept him out of the ring. It was personal issues that he had with his wife. And like I said, I wouldn't say that that's his fault. That's more of his wife's fault, more so than his fault. He didn't have the problems with his wife. His wife is the one that had the problems with him. So I'm not, I'm not saying it's more important than your career. You're not worried about what goes on with your career. You worried about what's going on at home because at the end of the day, you got to go home. If your home life ain't straight, you're like, okay, what I'm gonna do? Just live in the ring in my entire life? I gotta go home at some point. So I wouldn't say that he wasted his career because Jamal still made a lot of money throughout his career. I mean, we saw some of his best years. He's 35. We missed 4 years. We missed 4 years. We only missed
Yeah,
4 years.
and
It's not like we missed his entire career.
only reason I say that, Free, is because 4 years in boxing is a lot. That's what
Light
on the new
years.
on the new. That's what six. I don't know what's that, six, almost 8 fights he could have had. I mean, it's just I don't know.
That
It
but
just
that depends also. Like you can't just assume well that's 6, 8 fights because prior to him fighting like, who was the guy from
Two
Philly?
fights a year.
I forgot who was the guy he fought from Philly. Who was that? Free, you know.
J Rock.
He fought.
J
J
Rock.
Rock, J Rock.
So when he fought J Rock, remember there was a thing that he was saying that they were saying that he's gonna end up going up at 60 because he couldn't make the weight no more. He had fought, I forgot who it was prior to J Rock. That was a whole year before he fought J Rock. So he had only fought like once. So even if you think about it, right? Let's say that you have fighters that anybody is gonna fight. He's gonna have to fight
Right.
somebody from that stable, from that PBC stable. They would have to eventually find him and fight. So by the time that he moved up to whatever 160, 168, wherever he was going to move up to, you still had 6 months to prior of that's half a year right there already. On top of that, 6 months to him for him to get whatever right. So you would fight. He would be fighting what at the end of one of those years, and then what he was going to be fighting for somebody else's belt or something. Because I think at the time PBC didn't have no belts at 160. So
Yeah.
who was he really going to fight? If you think about
I get
it,
what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but what I'm saying correlating kind of to the movie was you could kind of see, like, I don't know if you guys remember that part. Do you remember that part one where they went to go recruit everybody,
yeah,
like in the
yeah,
first half of the
yeah,
movie?
I remember that.
And I'm saying, like, the way Jamal he reminds me so much of that Cornbread character because he's on his last leg and he like needs this opportunity. And it's kind of
Yeah, no,
crazy to think a guy as good as Jamal was at 35. I'm 35. At 35, you're not supposed to be begging. I hate to say it. At 35, you're supposed to be setting things up so you can start winding down. And
yeah,
to see him at this point in his life, man, it like all of his interviews are pretty much Maury Povich shows. I don't know, Free. You know what I mean? Free, you remember all the promise that he was
No,
shown?
if you look at Jamal Charlo's career, the man has been fighting for
Mm-hmm.
17 years. Right now, it's 17
Right.
years. This fight that he have on Saturday will be 17 years. If he goes 3 more years, he would have been fighting for 20 years. So, like I said, I wouldn't say he wasted his career because a lot of the guys at 160 wasn't nobody that we cared to see outside of Triple G. It wasn't nobody that we cared to see. We was hoping that he would get the Canelo Alvarez fight, the Boo Boo Andrade fight, the David Benavidez fight, and Boo Boo was there, but Boo Boo wasn't really doing anything with his career himself. So I would say that's more of a waste of a career than Jamal Charlo. I would say Boo Boo Andrade is more of a waste. I wouldn't say
Mm.
Jamal wasted his prime years because, like I said, Jamal Charlo, he had personal issues with his family. Boo Boo Andrade didn't have no personal issues. He just mismanaged his career.
yeah.
And let
I
me ask
mean,
you guys this. When we looked at Sammy in the movie, he kind of reminds me a lot of Emiliano Vargas, where he's the star. Everybody kind of sees the unworldly talent he has. Do you think a guy like that will be able to navigate, boxing as dirty as it is, to see a guy like Emiliano? You think he'd be able to kind of navigate this thing we call boxing? Because we've seen guys just as good as him have a tough time. What would you say?
I got this one first.
It's funny that you it's funny you mentioned Emiliano Vargas with Sammy because Sammy was the biggest center out of all of them. Sammy was the one that brought back the ancient demonic spirits. When he sung, he brought back the spirits. So he was the bigger. I mean, if it wasn't for Sammy, the vampires probably would have never paid attention to where they was at because it was Sammy that brought that daggone those spirits down and they set the roof on fire and the building was in flames that draw the vampires to it. And the vampires are like, hey man, we want to go down there and find out what's going on over there. So it's funny how you mentioned a million to Sammy. So you say a million is the biggest cancer of the sport of boxing.
You
I mean, that's funny.
Listen, listen. I don't know. I don't know about y'all, but that sounded like mathematics to me right there.
Salute to my brother Mike Rim, Jeff Spark. Appreciate you brothers coming through. And I ask you this: speaking of that, when you seen the movie, right? Let me ask you this: when you seen a guy like a Boots Ennis, who kind of reminded me of that Chinese lady, where as soon as her interest is not met, she lets the vampires come in and say, "Come on in," right? Do you guys think a guy like Boots is doing that now, where he's fighting a guy like, a guy like Teofimo Lopez, instead of doing everything in his power to get a fight with Storm and Norman? What do you guys think about it? I thought he really reminded me of just like that Chinese lady, just a turncoat where he says one, like you got the Chinese lady, she had our back for a certain period of time as long as it was comfortable. And your same thing with Boots Ennis. He wants to represent the culture when it's comfortable, but when the fights get hard, he takes a fight with Teofimo and then says, if I lose this fight, I'm going to 54. What do you guys think about that?
Well, from what I know, Teofimo supposedly is in talks with Devin Haney. But we ain't gonna talk about that today. But from what I know, that if the situation is, he's taking the fight with Teo, and then he's not taking the Storm and Norman fight, then that's just him backpedaling. Because what was it, a couple months ago he was saying that he wanted to unify and become undisputed at 47, not just a few months ago. So it's I see what you mean by turning coat, but it's very disappointing and not very how you say it, pleasing. But like I said, like you said, it's a turning coat thing, because if it's not going one way, then it's going another, and it's just more sinful things.
Yeah,
I
and you know what?
I disagree with that.
Go ahead.
I disagree with that. Nah, because they only had one situation where they was quote unquote going back and forth about making a fight. After that, Brian Norman has been occupied, so there was no way for Jerron to come to the table and try to make a fight with Brian Norman, because Brian Norman had his fight, because that fight that Boots had with Stanley Onis, Brian Norman had a fight, and then Jerron Ennis was trying to make the fight with Brian Norman, and Brian Norman had another fight already lined up. So I don't see where it was a situation where Jerron Ennis wasn't willing to make a fight with Brian Norman. It seemed like Brian Norman was the one that was preoccupied. Jerron Ennis had his fight with Stanley Onis, then Brian Norman had his fight, and then Brian Norman had his fight first, and then Boots had his fight with Stanley Onis, and Brian Norman is already in the talks of making a fight with Jen Sasaki. So where was it an opportunity for Jerron Ennis to step in and say, "Hey, let's sit down and have a fight"? They was already preoccupied.
I mean, in a way, and I see where you're getting to, but it's like, just like where we were supposed to have what was it, September, with Ryan and Devin. If the two of them get past their opponents, see what I'm saying, we was gonna get the rematch. Why was it never that? You know what I'm saying? Why was it never that?
Because Brian Norman had a fight.
And I understand that, but when even then, if you was to make a fight, right? Let's say, because the Jim Sasaki dude, we all gonna agree, Norman by the storm raising, like he really about to get him out of there. But it's just, it's not even like, oh well, you couldn't make a fight. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't make a fight for a few months down the line. Like, all right, well you get past you, dude. Let's get this fight going. You know what I'm saying? Let's get at least these talks going for us to go get it in the fall. You know what I'm saying? Or in the winter, whenever they felt like fighting.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
So he was supposed to wait until Brian Norman was ready to make a fight.
What I'm saying is, listen, you're not listening to what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, right? Obviously, when was that Boots fought? Boots fought what? A month ago? Now it's been a month, right? So if it's been a month, right?
Boots fought about, what was that? That was
maybe a month and a half.
In April. That was in April.
All right, okay, my fault. In April. Let's say he fought in April. And when's the Brian Norman fighting? What, this coming June, right?
Brian Norman is fighting what? In a couple of weeks.
Okay, so in June. So he's fighting in June. One's fighting in June. One fought in April. Why couldn't there be a point of, all right, before these guys took these fights, right? All right, cool. I have a fight already lined up. Let's have these fights lined up. I already have these fights lined up. But after this fight, we can line this up. We seen it in the Devin Haney fight. We seen it with the what was it? The Steve Forbes when he Deloya fought Steve Forbes and he already had the Pacquiao fight lined up. So why
Right.
couldn't that be already that? You know what I'm saying?
And you saw the outcome of those two fights that was already lined up. They were
No,
mediocre because guys were
and,
trying to protect the bag.
and I understand that, but these are two different fighters. You know what I'm saying? These are
It
two
doesn't matter
different
if it's
fighters.
two different fighters. Like,
And
you just saying it's two different fighters. But the thing is, one guy fought a champion. Now he's free. The other guy is going to fight somebody that is taking the same amount. I mean, he's taking the same amount of money that was offered to you to fight in the states. You're fighting somebody that's overseas for the same amount of money.
The thing about I can tell you,
That's not
I,
a mandatory fight. That's a voluntary fight.
I'll say this to kind of get
He
back
didn't
because
have to take the
we
Jin
could
Sasaki
definitely
fight. He wasn't a mandatory.
we could definitely go on that one. But I'll say this: the thing I really learned from that movie, Sinners, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, it's probably the most evil, demonic movie I ever seen in my life, and it's one of those movies where I didn't realize that we could go that dark, man. That was a pretty evil movie, bro. And not even just the vampire aspect of it, but did you guys see the part where the people who worked on the plantation didn't have real money? They just had plantation coins. Did you guys see that?
yeah,
Like they were paying with plantation coins. And you look at the guy like, Remit, this guy had real gold. And it just goes to show that there's always been a discrepancy when people are poor compared to when people are not. And I think for me, the movie just highlighted. I thought it was a little bit overboard in some of how it went, but I'll say this, man: you can't celebrate the loss of life as if that's the thing to do. And I'll say one scene that kind of was disturbing to me was, he was dreaming about his woman and she was breastfeeding the baby. It was just after he had just got done, taking a bunch of guys out. Rightfully so. If you watch the movie, you would agree with him taking those guys out. But when have you ever seen, mayhem with God? God is always peace, order. You know what I mean? So it's just it kind of gets me the fact that I think more and more the morals that a lot of us grew up on are dissipating at a rate that we could never imagine, because you got people now who think being extremely violent, you can still find peace in that. What do you guys think about that?
I think you missed what was the point of that ending and the reason why it was the ending like that. Because all right, so when he had so it was supposed to be a baby with him and the lady, and
Yeah,
he was like, I've made many mistakes because obviously when they came back to town, they came back with the stolen stuff from Chicago and all that extra stuff. Not trying to ruin the movie
right.
for anybody, but
Ruin it,
um,
man. They already seen it. They already seen it, dog. They already
so
seen it.
so
Well, I fell
so
asleep on it.
so when they
Well, that's
came
you. You the
back,
only person on the planet that fell asleep on the
Well,
movie.
it was cool, but it put me to
Go
sleep,
ahead,
gang.
Juan. Go ahead, man. Why?
when
Forgive
so
our
when they
brother,
came
man. He over there.
when they originally came back to the town,
Right,
they had a whole bunch of stuff stolen from Chicago from the mob. Okay, so
right,
that was one of the plots where it was like, all right, well, this is something they were sinning off of it because they were both sinning. So then the way the movie went was that obviously they stole this stuff, all that extra stuff. They was making this club or whatever you want to call it, and they're trying to at least get their lives back to what they had prior to when they left. So when they left and they came back and whatever they had the whole thing, he was feeling more. The guy was a Stack. It was Stack. Stack was feeling more not angry, but he felt relieved because he knew that was his end. You know what I'm saying? Like he knew that he was gonna be reunited at least with his family. You get what I'm saying? Because he
right,
didn't he didn't go out like his brother in a sinful way. How did his brother go out? He went out having
right,
sex out of wedlock On top of that, out of wedlock with this one other lady, he died because the lady bit him or whatever the case may be, and came back to life. Now he's traveling the earth as an undead thing, a creature, whatever you guys want to call it. You know what I'm saying? And then Stat died, protecting his own and standing his ground against the KKK members. And then on top of that, you know what I'm saying, he felt like he already had his peace with his family. So obviously he came back for his family. It wasn't because he wanted to come back and have this juke joint and stuff like that. He wanted to at least have him come back and have his peace of mind. Like it was a lot of things in that movie where you go back and watch it. He wanted his peace of mind after losing his kid, which again, if nobody's ever experienced that, you know what I'm saying, that's a very hard loss for anybody. So even a mother or father, it doesn't matter. That's a very hard loss. So I could just imagine, you know what I'm saying, people that have gone through that. So even if you miss the point to it, you go back and you watch these movies and you see, be like, okay, I see where they went because it's choices. Like Michael B. Jordan did a great thing on what he did acting as both characters. It was choices, and you can see where the both of them made their choices at. You know what I'm saying? So if you go back and watch it, and you be like, the choices they each made was what led up to their conclusions of their stories. You get what I'm saying? So that's where he,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, wasn't that their name Stack and Smoke?
Went all the way out.
yeah, Stack and Smoke, something like that.
The one thing I will
Yeah,
say
yeah,
about
Stack
the
and
movie
Smoke.
that was pretty, I don't know, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, do you think?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, no, the reason I was saying that is that I think the thing that really hit hard about that movie is there's no easy way to figure out complex issues. You look, I don't know if you remember, like you heard Sammy, telling Remick a Bible verse, right? And he said, hey, that's the people that conquered my land spoke those same words. I think the thing that's so crazy about life and oppression is that, man, it really shapes generations to come. We still having conversations that we would have, that not just our grandparents, our great grandparents were having. There's video of the Puerto Ricans and the blacks and the Chinese all marching together, bro. And it's like, I think it's kind of sickening that we're still having these same conversations, whether it's in boxing or outside of boxing. I just think it's very disturbing that it's always something so negative, and we never can get a positive outcome. Even the Floyd Mayweather story, the greatest commercial boxer we ever seen, his story didn't end triumphantly or great. It ended bad because you see all the wild stuff he was doing. He went broke. He made $1 billion and went broke and had to fight Conor McGregor. That
We don't
Conor
know
McGregor
that.
fight was not planned. That fight wasn't planned. I mean, the man got a tax bill and had to pay the tax bill and got back in the ring. And that's the thing, what I mean when I say, like, just like that movie Sinners, even if you take the evil road, you still lose.
I
You
think
really
I
just
think
gotta do the right things, man.
I think I think I think I think that movie highlighted, and I went over it on my episode of Just That Song. It highlighted of life choices, like whatever life choice you made, and we've all been there. We're all grown men and grown people. We all have been there and made these choices, and made these choices that either affect your life, or you move on with life. It depends on how you live your life. You know what I'm saying? So if you live in a good life and you live in a right life, you know what I'm saying, then you obviously you're gonna go through hardship no matter what, because life, you going life throughout life without no hardship, that's a lie. You're gonna go through hardships, but if you keep faith, and um you keep your heart at least good, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna be all right. You know what I'm saying? But if you're living a life that's, awful, you know what I'm saying, in a lot of ways,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying, there's gonna be a time that you need to repent. You don't repent, you're gonna see the consequences to that. You know what I'm saying? So it showed a lot of different things, and I like that movie. And I'm not gonna hold you. I'm gonna be like, it's movie of the year, because I don't see no other movie that's gonna be.
I still think it was. I think it was Stack's fault that the whole thing went down the way it went down. Because if it wasn't for Stack dealing with his former girlfriend, they would have never went down the way they did. I mean, because she went out to go talk to them because she said she felt like they needed the money, and so she went to go talk to them, and then they end up turning her. They let her back in because she was with Stack. So they let her back in, and then she ended up getting Stack. And so that's how the whole thing went down. Because once she got Stack, he sent everybody home. When he sent everybody home, the vampires end up feasting on the people that left, and then they all came back to the daggone to the club or whatever it was. They all came back. That's how the whole thing went down. So I believe it was, like I said, I think it was Stack's fault, but it was ultimately Sammy's fault because Sammy was the one that brought eyes to them. If Sammy wouldn't have brought eyes to them, then the vampires probably would have never even came over there.
He said it's Emiliano, huh?
I'm just
free out of pocket.
Listen,
He
man.
said Emiliano brought the eyes out.
Listen, man. Like I said, if math is mathing, math is mathing.
When you watch the movie, if you watch the movie, when Sammy started singing and the roof set on fire and the ancient spirits came down and was dancing in the club with them, you saw the three vampires sitting across town, and they saw the daggone the stuff that was going on at that barn. And their eyes lit up, and they said, "Okay, we're gonna go over there." And the first thing he did was like, "Hey." They opened up the door. They were like, "What you doing here?" They were like, "Man, I'm just trying to come here and play. We want to party too."
But you got to invite vampires in. You got to
like,
invite that energy in. You got to invite that in. You know.
But that's the meaning also. Like
they were like, nah, you're not coming in here. You're not coming in here. And when they said no,
from what I took from it, hey Juan.
What happened?
From what I took from it.
Hold on, let Free finish. There you go. Say it again, Free.
What I was saying is when they said no that those three people couldn't come in, which was the vampires. Once he said no, they walked off, and what happened? Murray walked right behind them and went to go talk to them. And when she went to go talk, they end up turning her, and then she came back in, and that's how everything started.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Free, would you like? I didn't see all of the movie because, like I said, I fell asleep, but I did see that part. And you got to invite that kind of energy. That's what I got from it. You got to invite that kind of energy into your reality. You know what I'm saying? You got to. Vampires can't get in unless you invite them in. If you in somewhere, they can't just walk in. That's what it's supposed to be. But you know what I'm saying? So when I saw that part, I was like, damn, I started thinking like, okay, I'm big on energy. And when you let that kind of negative energy in your world, bro, man, it could take you down, bro. Like a house, a house, you got a miserable. Hold on, real quick. You got if you live in a miserable house, that kind of energy, like the type of people that don't want to go home to their families and stuff, they sit in the driveway, or they might take a little extra longer at work to go home because they don't want to go in their house because people don't read energies the way I do. And a house can really, really dictate a lot of things in your reality, bro. But I'll pass.
You think, Free?
Now, I'm glad you said that, AB, because that further states the point that I say Sammy was the biggest sinner, because that woman that he got with
AB,
was
shout out
a
AB.
married woman. She was a married woman.
AB crazy.
And he knew that she was married.
You know the part that got me with that, Free?
When he introduced herself, he knew she was married.
He said it turned out that preacher boy. That lady, yeah, that was.
The part that got me, Free, was when he tried to, put his face on her, and she had just got done walking, and he had nothing. He said, "I don't care."
He said, "I'm going in."
She was up there performing and everything. She was up there performing and everything. I was like, I know she's sweaty, and that man didn't care whatsoever.
He said, "I just want to try it."
And I'll say this, man, because this is fun. This is why we do this, man. Everybody don't think outside the box like this. But I'll say this: the thing I've learned, and I could be wrong to some people, but I think I'm right in this, is that Worshiping our ancestors is not something we should be doing. Playing with crystals, cards, all that stuff that conjures up evil. You think the demons that see you that seen you your whole life won't talk to these people? They talk to these people. So for me, I just hope coming out of that movie, more people understand the devil's real. It's not a game, and it could be 10 times worse because the devil will keep you longer than you want to stay, and he'll take you further than you want to go. And I'm seeing so many people embracing this demonic energy because us as blacks and even Spanish people, we have been marginalized and don't necessarily know our true culture. Just like when you hear someone who, when you say Spanish, what is that? The only reason a lot of our brothers that came from West Africa as well, who got dropped off first, they speak the language of the people that conquered them, which is Spanish, which is Portuguese, which is Italian, English for us. I don't think people understand. Those were not the common dialects for those people. Those are the dialects that was forced on them. Why in the world do people speak Portuguese in one part of South America, then they speak Spanish on the other side? That's who conquered them. Our last names. My last name doesn't belong to me. That's a name that somebody who owned my family at some point in the timeline bestowed on us. And I'm telling you, worshiping those people that's gone on, that's not the way. I get it's tough. I
That's
get it's
why. That's
hard.
why.
I get that we all go through different things, but I think the only place that you'll find your answers is through Christ. That's just BVO. You ain't got to agree with me on that, but I think if you want to find answers, you can find them in Christ. But go ahead, Freak.
That's why I say I don't speak English. I speak American because I don't sound like an English person. I don't sound like them. They say we
For
speak.
sure.
I
Yeah,
don't speak English. I speak American.
this
Because if
this
you
guy
put
ain't
me
right.
next to an English speaking person, we sound totally different. Our dialect is totally different. I speak American. They speak English.
I think when we talk about like races and stuff like that, and I want to be like all complicated with it, but like when we talk about races, and this is what I hate, and I'm like because I'm half Dominican, so like I'm half Dominican, I'm half Puerto Rican, and like either way, I'm still Spanish, whichever case may be, but like Dominicans, we black, like that's what we are. We're black. We a whole bunch of black folk. Like it's just black folk. Like what's right next to the Dominican Republic? Haiti. And where is Haiti from? Originally, it came from Africa. Like, it's like, what do you think we are? Like, it's just like, you guys just don't understand what we are. Like, it's just like, we're black. Like, so, like, when people be like, and this is what I really do hate is like, when like Spanish people that are from like Puerto Rico and I've always hated that they were like, "Oh, well, don't call me black," because like, bro, what do you think you are? Like, you think you Spanish? Like, yeah, that's a joke, right? Like, you knew like like it's a joke, right? Like, it's like
Hey,
you were
Juan,
slaves.
I got a question for you. I got a question for you, Juan. I got a
Yep.
question for you. You said, you from Hartford, Connecticut?
No, I'm from Boston, but I live in Connecticut now. This guy's always talking about I'm in Harvard.
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
in Harvard.
You from Boston?
Yeah.
No, because I hear BBO say you from Hartford, Connecticut. That's why I'm asking. I'm like, hold up, you from Hartford, Connecticut? So you from Boston?
Yeah. What do you do?
This
You
a
from
question that I
Roxbury,
Yeah.
right?
got.
Originally,
This
right?
one of the.
Roxbury.
No, I was literally gonna ask you about Boston because Hartford, Connecticut is not that far away from Boston.
Yeah, you can ask me where
Why
I'm
So
is
from.
you
it
Also,
grew up in
so
I'm
Roxbury, Juan?
technically,
many
I'm
racist?
technically, I know, I'm technically from Dorchester, but the end I'm from Dorchester is South End. So what that South End was called back in the day was
Oh,
called Mandela Way.
Borchester. Oh,
Yes,
you from Borchester? Okay, okay.
yeah, yeah.
You
So
from
so I'm
okay?
from, hey,
You from Dorchester? All right, yeah. All right. No,
hey,
I was gonna ask
I'm from the
about
trenches,
Boston.
bro.
So you grew up eating beans and rice. Okay.
Yeah, bro. Hey, I'm from the
So
trenches,
you
bro.
But no, let me
yeah.
ask.
So
Maybe
you grew
maybe
up
you
eating
maybe
beans,
you
bro.
maybe you understand this too because you from up that area. You up from that area because Massachusetts is literally one state above. Um, why is there so many racist people in Boston?
I
Like
think
I've
because
been to Boston a couple of times,
you
and
gotta remember. So Massachusetts is literally the first state of the United States. So when they came here, when the Pilgrims came here and they got here, you know what I'm saying? They killed a whole bunch of Native Americans, unalived them, and then they got here. When they got here, you know what I'm saying? It was a whole bunch of white people that got here, and we're like, well, we just captured slaves. They're gonna work for us on plantations and whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there's always gonna be like that. Like certain places in Boston, certain people shouldn't go. Like Chelsea, like Charlestown, Chelsea, certain parts of Cambridge, certain parts of Dorchester, you shouldn't just go. Like it's just like because there's still so much racism there. You know what I'm saying? Like they're gonna look at you funny. They're gonna like, oh, like why are you here? Who you know from over this way? Like, if you're not from the south end of Boston and you're not Irish, bro, don't even go over there. It's not even a choice to go over there. Don't even go over there. Just don't leave it alone. You know what I'm saying? So it's just
because I look at like I said, I got family that live in Hartford, Connecticut. My father's from Hartford, Connecticut, and so I have a big family up there. But I've been in Connecticut, and it's totally different from going from Connecticut to Massachusetts. You cross that line, it's like things are dramatically different. And I'm like, I literally just left from Connecticut, and it's like that you go into a bar out in Boston, and it's like the music just stopped, and they look at you like, "What you doing in here?"
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
and don't get it twisted.
"Hey, dog,
Connecticut is like that too, bro. Connecticut is like that too. Like so, Hartford is upper Connecticut. If you ever come back down this way or up this way, go towards like Mystic. I want to say Mystic, like heading towards like Providence and all that. There's mad small like white towns, and they're gonna look at you like if you're crazy. Like it's like, well, who's this guy here? Like, so it's like you know what I'm saying. It's always like racism is never like gonna die because certain people just they don't believe in that. You know what I'm saying like it's never gonna die. It's just the choices, they're not the choices, how we all unite, like black, brown, Spanish, not Spanish, like you from a different country, how we're gonna unite to combat that. You know what I'm saying? We don't need to combat it with, force. We don't need to do that, but just ignore the ignorance because it's like at the end of the day, like I read something a while back, like America's literally made by so many different nationalities. Like being white is literally what, like 10% of America. That's really it. And like the rest of it is different nationalities and different cultures and stuff like that. So it's like it's a weird. It's like it's so weird. Like America's still kind of so weird, but it's like still so racist. It's like all right, bro. Like, yeah, y'all got it.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
it's just
Yo.
can y'all hear me? Hold on.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
The answer to that question you had, AB, no, Spanish people from Spain do not honor Spanish people from the Southern America or America. They call what they speak dirty Spanish. I've heard that numerous times from different people who are Spanish, and it's just one of the things where that's what a lot of people are saying. It just feel like you're a man without a country, and that's one of the most lonely feelings is that. And shout out to what Prize said, where it's so important about what you invite into your life. What you invite into your life is what your life will be. But make sure you guys definitely tune in. We doing some big things, man, because as you guys see, we're going to talk a little boxing, but we're going to talk some community too, man, and keep your eyes open. The Just Ask Juan show is coming. He dropping 3 episodes at night. The brother's been working. I'm proud of him. Best videos on YouTube. Man, shout out to my man Prize. He doing his thing. Like I said, who would have thought Prize would have dropped a jewel like that, man? I wouldn't have thought that, because my man Prize used to be a knuckle dragger.
No, yo, free Dub right side. Free that boy Dub, bro. You ain't right.
Hey. Free right side.
Yeah, free
man.
Dub right side,
man. And before if we ever mention my man Dub right side, we got to show him his respect.
I do it for the children. You can take the children and bounce Man.
Shout out to my man Varnell Hill, aka Dub Right Side. Varnell be doing this thing, man. But you got anything before we get out of here, Prize? I think Prize fell down the steps. What you got for us before we get out of here?
Yeah, that's the one thing.
Hey, I'm waiting for Dub Right Side to get back right so we can do this these NFL schedules, and we're gonna go through, like I said, we're gonna go through every team in the NFL. We're gonna go division by division. So it's gonna be 8 weeks of us going through every division in the league and go wins and losses for each team. So we're gonna do that as soon as Dub Right Side get back right, and we can drop these live streams.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Y'all, everybody, please. I like y'all.
Shout out to. Go ahead. My bad. Go ahead.
My fault. I want everybody, at least like, comment, subscribe on everybody on the content creator side, at least on the mighty Sports Talk Network. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all be doing our thing. You know what I'm saying? BVO be with the lies and the funny jokes. You know what I'm saying? Come through, come chill out. Kick it back for like at least an hour with us. You know what I'm saying? We be on every day basically. So just come, please, everybody on the BVO side, including my man Marky Dan. I know he be lackadaisical with his videos a little bit, but you know what I'm saying? He be working. So you know what I'm saying?
Hey,
everybody
we in the fields, man. Shout out to Marky. And if you didn't hear this, Marky, get your black tail back in the fields. But shout out to my man Big Dog Willie trolling as usual. He said the Jake Paul versus Tank card is November 22nd in Las Vegas. So shout out to the Cleveland Zone, Jake Paul, for saving boxing again. Thank you, Jake Paul. Thank you, Al Heyman. Thank you, Don King, for saving our great sport. And we going, y'all. Peace.
Peace.
Hold on. How you turn this thing off?
I want to run.